Nature is a rather beautiful sight to behold, and it can be seen in the beautiful mountains and snowy rivers of this world. In the middle of this beauty is an overpowered hero who is training himself in the icy cold water of the river. He channels his inner Giga Chad energy and unleashes a flurry of moves to establish dominance, although there is no one who is watching him. Our hero, whose name is later revealed to be Ming, gets out of the river and talks about how body cultivation is a serious art. As a matter of fact, if he becomes a pro at this, then he can be as powerful as a martial arts grandmaster. While this might sound good in theory, our hero is worried that he'll harm himself if he continues to practice in icy cold water for extended periods of time. Ming even comments that at this rate, he won't make it past the age of 20, which is rather tragic. However, he is willing to make this sacrifice because he simply wants to avenge his father and his mother for all the wrongs they had to suffer. Now, our hero makes it back into the village, but he is mocked by everyone over there because they think that he is punishing himself for no good reason. They also comment on Ming is wasting his time with all his training. Of course, this situation needs some context, so Ming decides to give us some background information. He begins a narration talking about his beginnings at the Ye clan, which is his family clan. Things were good in the past because life was relatively easy, but at the young age of 10, our hero's parents angered some influential people and it led to them getting murdered in cold blood. This incident really affected Ming and it motivated him to work on his cultivation so that he could avenge his family with his own hands. Also, it turns out that he used to be the best at cultivating his powers among his peers. Ming doesn't care about what people might think of him, because only he knows how much effort he's actually putting into his training. Our hero also says that he had topped the power levels for his generation in the Ye clan, which is a very big deal. However, such progress is bound to invite jealousy. And the villain in this case is a warrior named Ye Ming, who is worried that Ming will take his title away from him in just a few months. As expected, this leads Ye Ming to think of a sinister plan to combat his rival. Now, we move to our hero who is chilling in the grass, but is also thinking about ways to become stronger and exact his revenge. All of a sudden, he comes across some red dragon grass which is known for boosting strength and skill if it is consumed with sun powder. This is good news for Ming because he can get to work on cultivating the red dragon grass as soon as he gets home. But he is stopped by Ye Ming, who has come with an entire army of warriors. The boys refer to each other as brothers, but Ye Ming states that he doesn't like all the talk about Ming surpassing him in only a matter of months. The villain might think that he has to prove his powers to everyone in his clan, but our hero is not interested in competing against him, because he has other things to worry about. Unfortunately for Ming, these words fall on deaf ears, as Ye Ming simply orders his men to attack the warrior boy and cut his meridians. This is because the meridians are the energy source which allow warriors to cultivate their magic. Now, Ye Ming's men proceed to damage Ming in such a way that he will never be able to cultivate magic ever again in his life. This actually led to a brutal scene, and then we learn that what we just saw was actually a flashback. It turns out that Ming is finding it hard to cultivate his magic now, and he wants to teach Ye Ming a lesson for what he did to him, especially during such a difficult time in his life. After this, we see the differences in class, as Ming's house is nothing but a hut when compared to the giant Ye palace. Anyway, our hero enters his home by kicking open the door. But he bumps into a warrior named Zhengxing who looks at him with judgment and disgust. Zhengxing mocks Ming and states that he is nothing more than a former genius who has to rely on cold water training to make himself of use. He also says that our hero is just trash and will remain that way no matter how hard he trains. Along with Zhengxing is a man named Sainer who, a chef of sorts, who brings out some rotten fish in a bowl and tells Ming to eat it quickly, because he has to wash the dishes. Our hero doesn't appreciate this treatment and frankly finds it insulting, but he is mocked by both Sainer Hu and Zhengxing, who think of him as a rebel who is not even worthy to eat fresh food. Ming decides to have some fun with his bullies, so he begins by asking Sainer Hu if it was his idea to serve him rotten food. Sainer Hu smiles at our hero because he doesn't care about the question. Instead, he asks Ming if he is going to hit him for being a mean chef. This is all it takes for our hero to lose his sense of calm, so he smashes the bowl of leftover fish on Sainer Hu's face in front of Zhengxing. This is a shocker for the bullies as well as the audience, and Sainer Hu is clearly angered by the gesture. The lazy chef decides to attack Ming, but it's of no use as the warrior boy simply dodges his punch and shows off his own fighting skills. Our hero lands a kick right in Sainer Hu's precious eggs, and it is not a pretty sight. This has clearly caused a crack, so Sainer Hu falls to the ground and starts to cry in pain. Our hero warns the chef against giving him leftovers the next time. Otherwise, he is going to make sure that his eggs will get scrambled the next time they meet. Nobody likes to see a Sigma male showing off his Giga Chad energy, especially Zhengxing, so he tries to scold Mingyi for being rash and reckless. However, our hero isn't in the mood to listen to lectures, so he openly challenges the warrior to a fight. It's a bit shocking for Zhengxing, because he never would have expected Mingyi to be so brave, especially after losing his powers to Zhen Ying. However, Xing knows his limitations and doesn't want to risk his life because his eggs are more precious than Saner Hu's. The cowardly villain figures it's better to simply insult Mingyi and tell him that Zhen Ying is going to hear about this. Zhengxing also states that Zhen Ying is not going to spare Mingyi for his assertive actions, but our hero doesn't have anything to lose because his meridians have already been cut by the shady warrior. He openly declares that he is going to make Zhen Ying pay for his evil deeds, even as Zhengxing and Saner Hu make a run for it. However, after all this drama, our hero still needs to go buy some food because there's nothing to eat at home and his rice bowl is as empty as they come. He figures that he should step out and get some food from the market before it closes, but as he crosses a giant tree, we can see an old man looking at him with some kind of intent. He calls out to our hero and asks him if he wants to become strong, but Mingyi doesn't seem to understand what he means by this. The old man states that he can sense a lot of hatred lurking around in Mingyi's body, and he can offer him the perfect chance to grow his skills in a way that will allow him to get revenge for all the wrongs inflicted upon him. Of course, the old man needs Mingyi to say yes to his methods first, but the warrior boy is a little doubtful because at the end of the day, he is being tempted by a man who is begging on the roads. The old man turns it around on him by saying this is just a hobby for him, but it might become a sad and brutal reality for people like Mingyi, who have had their meridians cut off. This statement alarms our hero, because he needs to figure how this old man got to know about his missing meridians from a mere glance and a few words. The old man decides to act mysterious, so he tells Mingyi to come meet him when the moon rises at the highest place. It is here where he will show the warrior boy his true destiny. This was a lot to take in, but Mingyi finds himself in bed, even as the moon is shining brightly upon him. He wonders if this old man will be able to help him, because he doesn't really have any other option as of now. After some careful consideration, he figures that he can only go up from here, so he gets out of bed and sets off on his journey. He finds the old man waiting for him, and is told to follow him through the snowy forest. The men travel through some icy weather and eventually reach the mountains. Our hero is feeling cold, so he asks why they have come here in the first place. However, the old man simply tells him to stop asking questions and keep walking. After some more walking, the men reach the edge of a mountain peak, where the old man asks Mingyi to take a seat. Then, he explains that the warrior boy had already proven his merit before his meridians were taken away from him. However, Mingyi doesn't have time to mess around, so he asks the old man what he meant when he said he was going to show him his destiny. This makes the old man erupt with a suspicious smile, and then he says that he's going to take the warrior boy's body away from him. He proceeds to show his demon eyes and fire a spell at Mingyi, which freezes him completely. Our hero is just as confused as we are, so he asks for answers, but the old man simply says that he's made Mingyi offer his body to him. Now, the old man states that he will let the warrior boy know the truth before he is killed. Basically, the old man was a general who was persecuted by some evil people, and it led to the tragic loss of his family. A flashback shows us a burning house in front of the old man who is currently in a younger body. This incident led him to go on a quest, and he ended up discovering the ancient art of reincarnating into another body. He had used this power to take the body of an inner disciple of the heavenly earth, and then he went on a mission that lasted for 30 years. By the end of it, he was heading the management of the heavenly earth. Unfortunately, this was not enough for him, and he wanted more, so he ended up stealing the 3 great treasures as well. However, he was chased after by the martial arts saints of the sect, and he nearly died in the middle of his escape plan. After this, he found the body of a dying beggar, and took over him as a temporary escape. Now, he has found the perfect vessel in Mingyi and is about to take over his body to continue his evil plans. Our hero is a bit confused because he doesn't have much to offer as a fighter. Mingyi tries to reason with the old man by saying his body is not the right choice without any meridians, but this is of no use. The old man seemingly activates his demon mode and says that Mingyi's body will soon be his. He then takes out a bottle and says that it contains a rare pill which is called the Blessing Pill for foundation building. Apparently, this pill has the power to activate all kinds of skills even in a body like Mingyi's. This means that the old man will be able to access cultivation powers after reincarnating into our hero's body. Ming-Yi does not like this philosophy of stealing bodies, so he tells the old man he's going to pay for his sins. However, this only makes the villain laugh because he comes from a land where only the strong prevail and the weak fail. The old man blames everything on Ming-Yi's weakness and then he pulls out the pill. It appears as if this rare pill cannot be taken through the mouth, but rather needs to be put into an open heart. Despite this process, the old man reassures Ming-Yi that he will not die from this procedure. Of course, our hero doesn't believe a single word he says, because he knows he's not going to make it if his heart is cut open. Ming-Yi rebukes the old man and calls him an evil creature as well. Unfortunately, the demon man gets his way and he plants the pill into Ming-Yi's heart through a ritual spell. This process causes our hero a lot of pain and an epic beam of light shines upon all of us. We can see the pill entering Ming-Yi's heart, but we can also see a supreme being who is woken up by these recent events. The supreme being decides to shine brighter than the sun, and then we are blinded by the lights. After a tense sequence, Ming-Yi is shown to be in a state of limbo, so the demon man transfers his soul into his body. It doesn't take long for him to adjust to his new form, and he even comments that Ming-Yi was a much better option than he had expected. With the beggar's body fallen to the ground in front of him, the demon man looks down upon it and decides to carry on with his evil plan. However, he faces a strange amount of resistance in his hands, and comments that Ming-Yi actually fought his demonic possession with his will to survive. The demon man believes that it won't be so easy to get rid of Ming-Yi's soul, but he doesn't have time to worry about that for now. Instead, he attaches the divine golden cloak to his body and decides to deal with Ming-Yi's soul afterwards. He casts a spell upon the cloak, and it unleashes a surge of energy that surrounds him with an intense, magical aura. The demon man is pleased to see how powerful this tool is and reminds us that he had spent 30 years trying to perfect it while he was the leader of the Heavenly Earth's management. However, an alternate voice within the demon man runs a quick check on all the processes he's just completed, especially the blood sacrifice. This seemingly alerts the voice and it comments on how the demon man is a threat. Things take a quick turn as we learn that this is a palpable spirit who is going to purify Ming-Yi's body. The demon panics after the palpable spirit detects an external invasion in Ming-Yi and decides to terminate him. He reasons that he is the true master of the palpable spirit, but is told that he was not the one who devoted his life to the blood sacrifice, it was Ming-Yi. The demon man curses himself because this is 30 years of effort which has gone to waste. He pleads with the palpable spirit one last time, but it's of no use as he gets terminated with a blast of energy. The surge of light creates a giant spectacle, and then we finally see our hero who is back in control of his body. Ming-Yi gets up and wonders what has happened, because he only remembers the demon man taking control of his body. As he tries to figure what's going on, he hears the voice of the palpable spirit and becomes defensive. However, the palpable spirit calms him down and reveals herself to be a cute fairy goddess, whose name is Ye Ming. She says that she is the palpable spirit of the divine golden cloak, and this is a common thing for other divine instruments as well. Ye Ming explains that she can help Ming-Yi with his powers, and then he asks her what happened to the demon man. She states that the demon man didn't know that she was living inside the divine golden cloak, so she destroyed him because Ming-Yi is her true master. Our hero is impressed by what she says and goes on to admire his cloak, because it is definitely a treasure. Ye Ming further states that the cloak was made by an ancestral patriarch named Sky Roamer, right at the beginning of time. Now, we see a brief flashback where Sky Roamer is forging the cloak with his tools. Ye Ming then states that the cloak has been made with the soul of a martial arts god as its core. To top it off, Sky Roamer had also added elements like God's will, destiny, and enigma of fate. This wasn't enough though, as he went on to search the 3 realms of the heavenly earth to find another 49 rare substances which would eventually get added to the cloak. By the end of it, Sky Roamer spent around 3,000 years simply to complete the divine golden cloak. These fancy words mean a lot to Ming-Yi, and he only gets better news when Ye Ming states that he is suited to the cloak as a master. This is because he had taken the blessing pill for foundation building, which has increased his stats. With a fairy goddess like Ye Ming, our hero is bound to become a powerful force to be reckoned with. Ming-Yi cannot believe his ears, but is thankful to have met the demon man because it has led to a change in his destiny. Ye Ming agrees with him and adds that there is a sky roaming sutra on the beggar's body which can be used for future cultivation. Our hero brings out the sutra, which is basically a divine scroll, and his fairy goddess states that only the successor of the heavenly earth is allowed to practice it. The good news keeps piling up on Ming, so he gets excited about all the possibilities that lie ahead for him. Unfortunately, Ye Ming plays party pooper and reminds him that his meridians were cut off, so he can't really practice any cultivation right now. This news brings our hero to hilarious tears, and he asks his fairy goddess not to spoil his mood for now. Of course, Ye Ming is only a spirit, so she can't understand feelings, but Ming puts all of this aside and decides to sell the sutra for some easy cash. However, there's yet another twist waiting for him as Ye Ming tells him that she can help him use the sutra, even though he's useless at the moment. Basically, Ye Ming can use the blessing pill for foundation building to eventually recreate Ming's meridians. To add on, she can also cure all the internal injuries that were caused to her master while he was cultivating in icy cold water. Our hero doesn't know how to react to this, because he just got good news but was also insulted at the same time. Anyway, he demands Ye Ming to cure him right now, but the fairy goddess reminds him that she has no idea how feelings work, so she didn't insult him for pleasure. Ming laments that this is only going to become an easy excuse for Ye Ming whenever she mocks him, but focuses on what's important. He wants to heal his meridians, so Ye Ming asks him to lie down. The cute fairy takes over proceedings, but ends up sitting on her master's face. This is awkward for Ming, so he asks Ye Ming to get off his face because nobody would like a butt on their forehead under the current circumstances. The fairy goddess makes a baby face and acts innocent once again, so Ming has no other choice but to allow her to do as she pleases. Now, the fairy goddess places her hands on her master's forehead and channels her magic. She begins the healing process by awakening the supreme being resting inside Ming's heart. This being is shown to be surrounded by demonic beasts, but seemingly frees himself, and then we move back to our hero. He can feel the power of the meridians once again and is thankful that he is no longer a loser. Ming remembers his mom and dad, reassuring them that he is going to avenge them by hunting down the people that hunted them down. Our hero strikes a pose and soaks in the view of the giant mountains to anticipate the journey ahead of him. The next day, Ming approaches a giant house and opens the door, after which he walks towards a mysterious figure standing next to a tree. This person is none other than Ye himself, so our hero calls out his name in anger. The villain doesn't look too concerned by this and mocks Ming for training in icy cold water to cultivate his powers. He then asks our hero if he is here for the selection of the Red Sun sect. However, Ye is also aware that Ming might be here for revenge, so he takes guard. Our hero turns it around on the villain by saying he's not going to live past the age of 20 due to his training methods, which means there's no reason for Ye to be worried. The villain becomes relaxed and resumes with his brutal taunting of Ming. However, he is still upset because Ming is being hostile to him, even in his apparently useless state. Ye wants to teach our hero a lesson, so he charges at him and launches an overpowered strike. It's a rather intense blow as Ye smashes away Ming with his attack. Our hero crashes against the wall and is visibly injured, but the villain doesn't care about any of this. He proceeds to mock Ming by saying his parents are the sinners of the family, and he is simply carrying on their tarnished legacy. Ye is particularly upset because of the recent fight Ming had with Saner Hu, so he tells our hero to behave himself. The villain changes the subject and informs Ming that Lady Han Yu from their Uncle Wu's family is coming to visit them in a few days. We learn that our hero was actually engaged to her back when they were kids, but that isn't the case anymore, so he is advised against getting too excited in front of Han Yu. Ming is aware that he has nothing to do with her, so Ye laughs and makes fun of him once again. The villain explains that Lady Han Yu is an outer disciple of the Red Sun sect, which means that she is very talented. He then tells Ming that she is way out of his league, so he shouldn't even dream about getting with her. That's when he confesses that he's asked his father to send Lady Han Yu some presents, so that he can have a shot at making her his wife. He tells Ming that he will marry Han Yu on his behalf and walks away, feeling like the king of the world. However, our hero knows that he's going to sink Ying's Titanic very soon, so he summons Ye Ming. Ming asks his fairy goddess if she can make him more powerful than Ying in a short amount of time, and she says that there is way, but he won't be able to bear it. Ming is not bothered by the limitations, because he has been cultivating in icy cold water all his life. He demands to know the shortcut, so Ye Ming mentions a man named Tianpeng Jai. This turns out to be the name of the demon man who had possessed the beggar. Tianpeng had acquired a set of King Gong, which is a renowned footwork technique. This had allowed him to move at a fast pace, and also enabled him to escape from warriors after stealing the heavenly treasures. Ye Ming now strikes a dramatic pose and tells Ming that this technique is called the heaven striking footwork. In order to master this technique, it is important to cultivate one's primordial spirit, and that means our hero has to fast for 49 days. Ming begins his preparations, but his belly starts to rumble because of his unstoppable hunger. There seems to be a quick fix to that as well, because there are evil lords hiding inside the pill which Ming had swallowed. By using these powers, he will be able to combat his hunger, so our hero gets ready for a thrilling journey. 49 days have passed, but Ming has not woken up from his training. Ye Ming worries that the forces of the demon lords might have consumed her master, but that doesn't seem to be the case as his primordial spirit has been successfully cultivated. Ming wakes up and comments that the power of the demon lords was tasty. Then, Ye Ming tells him that he has entered the phase of blood cultivation. She asks if he would like to begin with flash step, which is the first step of the heaven-striking footwork technique. Ming doesn't waste a second and trains himself for 3 days. It's a tiring process as our hero has reached the swift move level, but then the wall is broken down to reveal Lady Han Yu and Zhenxing. She is unimpressed by Ming and feels that he isn't worth her time, so she asks Zhenxing to take her away. However, he says that he's only here to remind Ming that he will never have a shot at Han Yu. Han Yu finds this gesture to be sweet, and Zhenxing says that Ming will nod in agreement upon hearing his instructions. He then calls out to our hero and says that he shouldn't get carried away by his childhood engagement. However, Ming turns into a Giga Chad and scolds Han Yu for breaking into his house without any manners. She gets upset by this, so she openly says that she will never marry a man like Ming, whom she considers to be trash. However, since our hero is a Sigma male now, he mocks Han Yu for believing that she's pretty. He even comments that he has no interest in her at all because she is not worth his attention. This angers the arrogant babe, so she launches an attack on him. However, Ming avoids her with ease and takes Han Yu by surprise. Our hero gives a cheeky smile and launches a counter-attack on the arrogant babe with brute force. She is smacked against the wall and breaks it down, but Han Yu manages to save herself with a barrier shield. Of course, Zhenxing isn't going to just stand there and watch, so he also attacks Ming because of his behavior with Han Yu. As expected, since Zhenxing is a useless fighter, our hero manages to land a kick that shatters his bones in an instant. Zhenxing cries like a little baby and rolls on the floor in pain, after which Ming says that he would never look at Han Yu, even if she took her clothes off. It's a savage moment as Han Yu is embarrassed by this humiliation. But our hero realizes that he has gone overboard with his powers and has hurt Zhenxing more than he needs to. Ming realizes that the elders won't spare him for this, and he might as well be hanged as a lamb for a sheep. He doesn't want any of the drama, so he casually lifts his foot and smashes them onto Zhenxing's broken legs. This causes the crybaby a world of pain, but he gets an easy fix. Regardless, Zhenxing declares that he's going to hunt down Ming and take his revenge for today's events. What's going to happen next? Will our hero be able to avoid the new enemies he's made with this encounter? Like, share, and subscribe to find out in the next video. I'll see you soon.